When it's cold outside and you don't have a floor that has carpet on it, it can be really cold under your feet, even with socks on. I'm going to show you how you can make these nice, warm, cozy bedroom slippers to keep your feet warm during those cold winter nights. To make our bedroom slipper, I'm using an old pair of flip-flops. And as you see here, I have taken out the strap here. And when I take that strap out, you're going to end up with this piece, or at least I did. I'm going to take a piece of paper, and I'm going to lay my flip-flop. I'm going to lay it down face down because I can probably get a nice flat surface. You may have to lay it crossways to get, you know, for the shoe to lay down so you can have extra fabric to cut out. So I'm just going to take the pen and I'm just going to trace around the flip-flop. Okay, so now you only need one pattern because if your feet are normal, this one should fit for both. I'm going to leave a 5/8 inch seam allowance all the way around. So now that my shoe has been traced out, you're just going to take your scissors and just simply cut it out. So now that we've cut out the shoe pattern, now you want to cut out the top of the bedroom slipper. So what you want to do is take your shoe, and I'm putting the shoe on top of the paper right about where my arch is right here, and it's about a little more than half. And you're just going to take your pen and a pencil or whatever you're using, and you're just going to trace around it like so. Now you're going to go out. What I like to do is I like to go out about 1.5 inches, maybe 1 3/4 inch. 1 3/4 inch. And I'm just going to do that all the way around, 1 3/4. And I'm just guesstimating at it now. So now I'm going to go up maybe about 1 inch, and I'm going to put a mark like here in the middle of 1 inch. So what we want to do now is coming from here, you want to do an arch. And this is just where you're going to arch this around like this, just so you got a nice little arch. And so what you want to do now is you want to cut this out. Okay, so now that you got that cut out, now also you want to cut out a pattern that is the exact same size as your shoe sole. So you'll have that as well. Now this is the fabric that I'm going to use for my bedroom slipper. So I'm going to lay the pattern down. I'm just going to pin it at the top and pin it at the bottom. And then you're just going to cut it out. Now mind you, I'm using terry cloth fabric, so I'm going to have terry cloth fabric little shreddings everywhere. So that's one of the downsides of using it, but it's a really soft fabric. So now we've got these two cut out. We're going to lay them off on the side. This is some of the rug stop that you put up under your rugs to stop them from skidding. So this is a leftover piece that I have. So I'm going to take one pattern and I'm going to lay it out here. And you can try and pin this in place. Sometimes it works because you're pinning through the little hole. So I'm just going to go ahead and just cut a little of this off. I'm going to slide this over because I like saving space, and I'm going to go ahead and cut this one out on this side. Okay, and then I'm going to take this and I'm going to flip this over and making sure they're on the right side. So what I did is I flipped it over because here the little knots or the stops are here and they're here, so they're facing one another. Pin through all thickness. So now I'm going to cut this out by cutting out both at the same time. So now I'm going to take the pins out. I'm going to take the fabric pieces that I just cut out. I'm going to lay them with the wrong side up. And I'm going to take each one of these and lay it on top. And as you can see, it looks pretty good. Now when you lay these on top, make sure you have the dots sticking up, because this is going to be the underside you're working on. Now on the fabric, we want you to cut out some strips. I've already cut my strips, but you can cut strips. They're pretty easy to cut. And I just cut 1.5 inch strip. About 1.5 inches. You can do 2 inches if you like. 1.5 inches to 2 inches, whichever. And what you're going to do now is you're going to take the strip and you're going to start to pin it. Now I like to start at the heel, and I'm going to take my strip and I'm going to pin the strip. You want the underside of the bottom of the shoe sticking up, and you want the right side of the strap going down on top. So I'm going to just put it right there. And I'm going to pin this into place. And what you would do is you would pin this in place all the way around. And then you would sew it. So I'm just going to, first of all, I'm going to go and pin them both all the way around. Now when I get back to the back, as you see, I left a little piece open here. So I'm just going to kind of butt those two up together like this. And then that tells me where I need to sew. So I'm going to put a pin right here. And I'm going to cut this excess off so I can see what I'm doing. So now I'm just going to sew. That looks like about a 1/2 inch. I'm going to sew straight down. So now that it's sewn, I'm just going to open up that seam now and completely pin the rest of that in place. So now that both shoes have been pinned in place, we're going to go around and sew. And I'm going to sew maybe not quite a 5/8. I'm going to do maybe like a 1/2 inch because I want the shoe a little bit bigger than the flip-flop. So now that it's been done, you're just going to take the fabric and roll it around the base of the shoe. And now this becomes the bottom of the shoe. See how it's beginning to take shape and look like a shoe? Now that we've finished the soles of the shoe, you're just going to take each one of these, your pattern there, and set it inside. You're going to do the same thing with this one. Just kind of set it inside, just like so. So now you're going to take your fabric, and this is going to be the upper portion of the shoe. So what you're going to do is you're going to cut 2 of these for each shoe. So you're going to cut 4. Okay, so now you've got your 4 pieces cut out. So we're going to lay that on the side. You're also going to take the piece of pattern that is the same size as the inner portion of the shoe. You're going to also cut out 1 of this to go inside of each shoe. So now we have the 2 pieces cut out that are going to be like a facing. So now we're going to use the same piece that we just cut those pieces out, which are going to go on top of this. We're going to now cut them out of batting. And you're also going to cut 2 pieces of batting out of this piece. So now that we have those 2 pieces cut out, okay, now we're going to take the top portion of the shoe. I'm going to take the pattern off. You're going to take 2 pieces like this, and you're going to put them right sides together, just like so. And you're going to take 1 piece of your batting. Now make sure you've got the batting turned right. See, this doesn't look right, so I'm going to flip it over and do it that way. And I'm going to pin this in place. So now that we've got the pieces all pinned together, I'm going to leave an opening about this much. So I'm going to start sewing from here and go around. I like to leave my openings where there isn't a corner because it's kind of hard to do that. So I'm going to start right about here, sewing this way, and I'm sew round in a U and come back and stop about right here so we can turn it. Both sewn, so I'm going to just clip the corners so I get a nice corner turn, and I'm just going to trim off some of the excess so that we don't have all that bulk. So now the pieces have been trimmed. You're going to go ahead and turn them, and since my fabric's kind of stretchy, it's kind of easy to turn them. And then once you turn them, you want to stick your finger up in there and make sure that you get all of the curves turned in there like so. So now that you've turned them, you'll notice that you got an opening here. So what you want to do is just tuck that in. I'm going to pin that in place. So I'm going to take a needle and thread, and I'm just going to go in here and do a running stitch or a little slip stitch. And that's where you're going into one fabric and into the other, back and forth, just until you close it up. So now that I've closed up the opening to the top of the shoe, you're now going to take your batting pieces and make sure they're facing one another. And you're going to lay down your liner piece that goes along with that. So you want to make sure you get the right top to the right bottom. And you're going to put them on top just like that. So you're going to take this and fold this in half and find the center. And then I'm going to put a pin right there at the center. And then you're going to take that and pin it right there in the top of the shoe because that's the center. And then I'm going to pin this across at the top. And you may have to kind of ease it in because you want it to be kind of puffy at the top. So I'm just going to kind of follow along. Now you're going to take the side of the shoe and you're going to pin it right where, remember we had about halfway. So you're going to pin that down on that side. And you're going to pin it around, and like I said, you may have to ease it so that you don't have any puckers, but you got, you know, a little bit of ease. So you're going to do that for this shoe, and you're going to also do the same thing for the other one. And then we're going to come back and sew them together. So now we have them pinned in place, and as you can see, the shoe is really starting to take shape. So what you want to do now is I'm going to actually sew this interface or the lining section to the batting. We're going to sew all of this all the way around in a complete circle. Now that our shoes have been sewn, you can see the shoe, it pretty much looks like a shoe now. So we're ready to attach it to the base, which this is where the hand sewing technique is going to come in. So you want to make sure that you're matching each one up with the correct way that they should go. So that one goes there and this one goes here. So what we want to do is we're going to take this and insert it inside the shoe, just like that. It kind of sits inside. And depending on how much you allowed, it may not be a big amount, but what you're going to do is you're going to take the fabric and roll it down, and you're going to pin it in place, just like so. So now that the soles are pinned to the top of the shoe, I'm going to start at the back. I always like to start at the back. And you're just going to hand sew. And this is what you're going to be doing is like a whip stitch, meaning you're going to be grabbing the inside of the shoe and grabbing the outside portion. And you're going to sew this all the way around. And sometimes I like to whip a couple of stitches at a time and then pull it through. But this is what you want to do all the way around to connect the base of your shoe to the lining portion of your shoe. So now that we've finished, I've stitched my shoe down to the sole all the way around. And as you can see on the bottom, you got the nice grip, so you're not going anywhere when you move around in it. And these are totally washable, so you could throw them in the washing machine. So that's how simple and easy it is to make your own pair of bedroom slippers from an old pair of flip-flops. Upcycle, recycle. Hope that you try this. Happy sewing!